Hey everyone, good morning. Your island. We're going to talk a little bit about this idea of islands today because it's come up on my end a couple times over the past week. And I apologize. I totally, for those of you who are signed up to get the little daily updates about when I'm going to be live, I totally had it ready and done, and I just never sent it. I never clicked send. So I just noticed that and was about to send it, but it literally would have shown up about 2 seconds before I went live. So sorry, botched that up. I'm really curious for those of you who watched yesterday's video about fear, maybe what came up for you following that. And yeah, if there was just over the past 24 hours, if you've in any way started to look at your fear differently or taken a new view on things. So feel free to share that with me. I would love that. And thanks for the comments. Thanks for the likes, the hearts, the loves, the shares. Always appreciated. So yeah, I'm just going to dive right in today, and I invite you to share what you hear in the comments. Again, it's not what I say, it's what you hear. So please keep those coming. The engagement is super inspiring and just keeps my wheels turning about what I might share that could trigger an insight for you. So please continue to share your thoughts. And hello to those of you who are watching. Please say hi in the comments because I can't see you online. Okay, so here's something really interesting. When I first talk with someone, so let's say you're interested in coaching and like what it is and what it might be like. When I first talk with someone for the very first time, what I like to do is ask them to tell me about the thing. Hi, Laura. Oh, yay. I'm so glad you're here, Laura. Is to tell me about what they want. You know, it's really interesting when to say, so what it is you want? What's the thing that you want to make happen? Because coaching with me anyway is around bringing to life the things that you really want. And those might be internal, right? There's an internal component to that. And that might be external. There might be actually things in your life that you want to be doing more. They go hand in hand, but I like to kind of tease them apart. So when I ask someone to start telling me about what it is that they want, what more often than not happens is they start telling me about how things are right now. And if we're looking on a timeline, very quickly the conversation can come up to like, well, here's what I'm dealing with now. Here's some of my history. Let me tell you some of the background. And don't get me wrong, I want to know your story. I want to know what's up. But it's just been interesting to me how conditioned we are to talk about how things are right now. And I refer to how things are right now as your island. Okay, so let's imagine that you live on an island and you're standing on the shore of it with the ocean at your back. Okay, so you're actually facing this island that you've built. And your island is all of the stuff that has made you up until this moment. So it's all of your circumstances, right? It's all of your people and your things and your stories and your just your stuff. Everything from your past. Again, the stuff going on in your life now. I don't know why I put a factory there because I was like, there have to be more than buildings than one random person. But you get my point. It's just all the stuff in your life before this exact moment. And when I hear people talking, sometimes, if you're ever at a coffee shop or you're in a public space and you just hear someone talking to someone else, that's a lot of what we're talking about is what's happening on our island, what happened on our island last week, what happened last year, what this person did, what's happening now, how we're feeling right now. And we just are describing the island that we live on. When it comes to coaching, or just, I relate it to coaching because that's what I do and the context within which I connect with people. What I like to ask people to do is, even just for a minute, turn their back on their island. So instead of facing this story and this stuff that represents our lives now, is to turn around, put our back to it for a minute, and imagine a new island, island B. So if island A is your island right now, island B is the one that's out across the ocean. And I ask people to describe what's on island B. What like if you could get there, if you could just hop into a little boat and row across and get to a new island that has a new story, has a new set of circumstances, has a new emotional experience of life, just has whatever it is that you think you want, what would be on Island B? And I've discovered that that can be really, really hard for people. Like, I don't know, because we're so used to talking about how things are and experiencing life as we are experiencing it. We get in that habit of it, that the idea of shifting that and saying, oh, you mean it could be different? Like I could create change, or I could see things in a new way, or there's a different place from which I could be living. That can take a bit of stretching. Now, some of you might be watching, you're like, oh, I know what I would love to have. You know, I know what would be amazing, or what I'd like to see different. But just notice as you know, sometimes too, as people start to describe their Island B, automatically these well, but I could never make that happen. Or they don't even say it. They don't even say what's on Island B because of the blocks. Like, oh, you can never have that. Or, oh, that's too difficult. Or, oh, that's impossible. So as much as possible, like, I want you to think about where you're at. Are you spending a lot of time focusing on your current island, or are you willing to look out over the ocean at this other potential space? Now, that doesn't mean that you're abandoning your island. We're not just like, it doesn't just go away. It's not like hopping on an airplane and just disappearing. But especially when it comes to coaching anyway, you know, one of the first questions I ask is, well, what is it you want? And if someone's like, I don't know, I can kind of help bring you there, but at the end of it, I don't know what you want either. It's not my job to know what you want. But I want to encourage you that it's okay to want different kinds of things. And it's okay to take the energy that you've been spending focusing on how things currently are, and to put a little bit towards like what you want things to look like. Then when you kind of get clear on, wow, that's something that I want, then we can map out like, well, what's the best route? What's the best route to get from where you're at now, Island A, to Island B? And are you willing to get in the boat and make that journey? Because it could get uncomfortable, right? New things are uncomfortable and edgy and a bit scary. Are you willing to row? Are you willing to start taking that journey? And my job as a coach is to kind of help map out, as I see it from my point of view, the best way to get from Island A to Island B, and to help you along that if you want it, to sit in the boat with you. I don't do the rowing, but I'm there. And I've got my eye out, and I have a sense of the big picture, and I can bring you out of those thought storms and help you look up every so often at the direction you're heading, and then just as quickly start taking those micro actions to create that change and discovery. And all kinds of really cool stuff happens when you're in the ocean, and when you're willing to start looking forward as opposed to looking backwards, and asking yourself like, well, what is the thing that I most want to create? What is the stuff that I want to discover? And yeah, so I'm curious again, as always, what you hear in that, where you think you're spending a lot of your time. And it doesn't necessarily have to be physically, like, you know, it's easy, oh, I live in the same house and I'm around the same people. But islands are a mental construct. Like, what are you thinking about all the time? What do you find yourself talking about? Are you talking about how things are and how they've been up until this moment, and just examining and continuing to give energy towards how things are? Or are you willing to every so often turn your back on that? Not, when I say turn your back, I don't like that phrase, but to turn around and ask yourself, maybe there's something different out there, a different way of experiencing this and living this life. And I'd love to know, again, if you feel so inclined to maybe pull out a piece of paper and jot that down and write, just start noticing where your mental space and thinking is spending most of its time. Yeah, so that's what I have to share about islands. I hope you all have a great day. Happy Wednesday. Laurel, if you're still here, greetings. And yeah, and whenever you watch, if any of you have a chance, leave your thoughts in the comments, and I will be following up throughout the day. And I wish you a fabulous rest of your morning and afternoon. Thanks, Laurel. Laurel loves the island analogy. I'm a big fan of metaphors, similes, analogies, whatever we want to call them. I am full of them. I think they, like in a good way, I think, because they take the edge off. They remove that emotional layer from things, because the situations and circumstances in our lives can carry so much emotion with them that it's hard to see it in any other way other than through that emotional filter. So when we can take those same set of circumstances and put them in a metaphor and just talk about the metaphor or talk about the example or this different image, it becomes, that's how I see my clients when we're talking about things. I can kind of see through that emotional stuff very quickly. But when you're in it, to kind of say, well, let's create a parallel kind of vision of what this represents. And when you see that and that emotion's off, all of a sudden those steps become very clear. So again, when people want to tell me about their story, they get really into it. And I love that. But it's nice to be like, okay, so that's the island that you're on now. What's the island that you want to go to? Exactly. It helps to conceptualize complex situations. Most definitely. Complex being code for emotional, right? Because things feel complex when we're just like have so much thought and thinking around it. So you can, all the clients that I've worked with have their own little metaphor that we keep coming back to. I had one who, we talked about a fruit stand, and I use mountains a lot and base camp. I use the ocean a lot. I use rivers and flowing water a lot. I've used teacups and saucers. I can always come up with a little picture, but all right, we should have a session one day where I invite you to bring like your story to the table, and then together we come up. I've thought about it like a metaphor workshop. I don't know what that would look like, but it could be cool. Like come up with your own metaphor for the biggest thing that's on your mind, and how can we turn that into something that doesn't feel so edgy? A metaphor workshop. Wheels turning. All right. You guys are great. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'll try and do a better job about sharing my live updates. Sorry about that. Okay. Talk to you guys later.